Welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll see how to set up voice here. So the agenda is that we'll enable Service Cloud Voice. When we enable it, this is a part where we'll use Service Cloud Voice with Amazon Connect, where our AWS account will be created and maintained by Salesforce itself. And then while we enable this, we'll have to create an account in AWS. So that is where you provide an email address to create a AWS account. And this email address that you provide here is something that has to be unique, but there shouldn't be an AWS account that exists on the same email. So this email is called as root email, and root email has to be always unique. Only then your AWS account will get created, else your AWS account will not be created in AWS, and you'll get an error in your inbox saying that this email is already being used in AWS, so we can't create an account. So always make sure that your email address is unique. So there are use cases where we have seen that customers can kind of use an alias email. So alias email is where you add additional characters where it kind of acts like your secondary email, but that email is still pointing to your primary email address. So this can be any keywords that you can use and you can still utilize it. Or you can use a group email. So group email is something that you want to manage between multiple users and receive passwords if in case that your security team or IT team has a separate email, you can utilize that as well. So once this is done, during the time of enabling voice, these all steps behind the scenes, which I'll go a little technical and I'll explain you that as well. So let's go back to Salesforce and I'm on the setup page, and then quick find, I can just type voice. That is where you'll be able to see the setup part. So Amazon setup is where your AWS account will be created and maintained by Salesforce. Partner telephony setup is where you'll be able to manage either you're bringing in your own Amazon account or other telephony providers. So here in our sessions, we'll see the way how Salesforce creates an account. So I went into Amazon setup and you can see that omni-channel is already enabled by us. So that's the reason that you're able to see the tick mark here as well. And domain is nothing but the URL where you can specifically create domains for your organization. So for example, if your company has a Salesforce org where you'd be able to see company name.lightning.force.com would actually navigate you to the company's Salesforce instance where you can log in with. This used to be a random URL, and then in developer edition org, this is something that we wouldn't be able to change, but for your company orgs where this is already enabled, most likely every company has a custom domain for them. So if this is not enabled, you can enable that as well. But that's kind of a prerequisite since it is a dev edition org that's already enabled. So that's the reason that you're able to see a check mark, and we have enabled omnichannel as well. Now, the moment I click on turn on voice, you'll see a pop-up where it would be asking for an email address. It would be asking for your email address. Make sure that this is always unique, and I'm gonna give my email address with an alias to ensure that I can utilize this. So the moment you click on turn on voice, you can see that we are turning on Service Cloud Voice. Look for email from AWS. So meaning behind the scenes that Salesforce will create an AWS account for you. And once that is done, you'd be able to see emails. So let's see what happens behind the scenes. So when we enable Service Cloud Voice, we enable IDP and Omni, which is kind of prerequisite. And when you clicked on enable Service Cloud Voice, you got a pop-up where you put in the email address, which is your root email. This email is stored in an object in Salesforce called conversation vendor info. I'll tell you how to see this information as well. This is something important to understand how Salesforce maintains this information. And the moment you clicked on turn on voice, what happened behind the scenes is there are certain backend jobs called as provisioning jobs in Salesforce that has the capability to hit on AWS API to create an AWS account. So this is where by default it will create a new AWS account mailbox where I got an email from AWS first, and I've got an email from Service Cloud Voice team asking me to navigate to AWS console screen and provide my root email address and forget password. And when you click on forget password, it will ask you to fill reCAPTCHA. Once that is done, you can come back here and you would be able to see that password email reset is done. So reset your password. And once you complete your reset password, you'd be able to see that your AWS password has been changed. I'm just gonna complete all those steps and you can see that I'm in my console screen where in your top right hand corner, you can see your account ID, which is like your unique ID in AWS. And I've logged in as my root user here. Now, if I navigate to my previous steps, that you can see that I've enabled voice, the provisioning job kicks in where a new account was created and I've reset my password as well. Now, if I come back here and refresh my Amazon setup screen, you can see that this step is done, but there is something that is missing here. So by default, since this account is created by Salesforce, it is all like located in AWS, so we can just click on confirm settings here. But if you're enabling it for a customer and customer is on a different region like Europe, then you'll have to set this up as well. So for now, I'm just gonna click on confirm settings and you can acknowledge. So this is still setting it up without clicking on confirm settings. Your AWS account is not ready. So you'll have to click on confirm settings. By default, it is pointing out to US since this account is managed by Salesforce. We are gonna click as default settings to be confirm settings, and this ends creating all your information in AWS. So this still takes time and you might receive one more email saying that your AWS account is set. So you can wait for that. Now let's see what has happened behind the scenes. Now, if I go back to my diagram, you can see that in AWS account, if you're aware of like CloudFormation templates, there are certain things that are processed by Salesforce or like created by Salesforce within North Virginia region. So I'm gonna switch the region first. So this is where you'd be able to switch your regions if you're like new to AWS. So this is where AWS accounts are hosted, and I'm gonna switch to North Virginia. And I'm gonna just type in CloudFormation here. And when you type it, you can see a star icon here, which means that that can be tagged within your header. So I'm gonna just click on CloudFormation as tagged here. So I don't have to like type in every time. I can just click on it to navigate here. And I've switched here and you can see that Salesforce created these tags, and this is something that Salesforce manages it. You wouldn't be able to modify this. This is just for visibility, knowing, helping you understand like what happens behind the scenes. I'm gonna click this and you can see there are like multiple events that got done, and every time when an account is created or contact center is created or a contact center is updated, this stack also gets updated. A general recommendation is just this is for troubleshooting steps at a later point of time. Never do anything here unless like it is absolutely necessary or you know what you're doing. Else, like if you're not sure what's happening or need any help, just reach out to Salesforce support via your customer account. So they'll help you on taking care of this. If you try to modify this and if you are stuck, then no, even the Salesforce product team or support can't like really do anything here. So this is just for a troubleshooting step for you to like know what's happening behind the scenes. All you need to care about is like the status. The status should be always in green. If in case that it run into errors, it will go into like a red path where it says failed and other things. So unless it is absolutely necessary or like you know what you're doing, don't try to modify any of these things because like this is all automated, and if you try to mess it up, then we can't like get back to the original state. So this might be useful for you to understand when you're like troubleshooting an issue with respect to like creating a new contact center or like updating a contact center. So let's see if we got any email. Yeah, I got an email saying that Service Cloud Voice is like successfully turned on. And this is where like if you fail to complete any of the prerequisite, or like if you're not able to confirm your tracks registration, if any of those steps are like missed, your contact center creation will fail, or like you can't proceed to the next step. So there are like multiple steps that happen. So at every point of time, just refresh your screen and see what is the status of this. So this is turned on, which is good. And I can see that the track registration number is also in green. So which means like I can get started with this. Now, what Salesforce did is that it created an AWS account and it connected to this particular developer edition org. So for you to like configure everything. Now, where do I see all this information is there? You can go to developer console here. So again, click on like setup icon here and then click on developer console and open it in a new tab. So I can just have it in the same tab or it will open it in a new window. So developer console is where you'd be able to see your codes or write codes. This is like an older version of the tool. We are not connecting to VS Code because like I'm just going to query this. So you can go to file, open resource, and you can just type in conversation vendor info. So when you type on this object, you will see a number of fields and you'd be able to choose multiple fields just by clicking on command or like control in your keyboard. So I'm gonna just click on ID, and if I scroll down, I can see AWS account key and root email. These are the two things that I would need. I can just click on query and I can execute it. When I execute it, I can see my AWS root email as well as my AWS account key. Now I'm just gonna verify if my AWS account key is same as this, which ends in this particular number, and this is also same. So this is how when Salesforce creates an AWS account for you, this is the object where Salesforce maintains all of your key information on your integration setup. So we have seen how to enable Service Cloud Voice in this tutorial. Thanks for watching.